We've been measuring the output from a typical home, just looking at how the product that people use, the waste that they produce, and the water that they consume, how that is going to impact the amount of pollutants that get discharged into wastewater. Evidence is actually the basis of our work. All scientific discovery has to be based on what the data tells us. So once we get the data, we then analyze it and find out what stories it tells us. One example would be in the case of households. We find out that when we measure the amount of salts that come out from different locations in the house, we find that often the laundry and the dishwasher tend to have quite high amounts of salt coming through, and that can be measured quite objectively. One of the key issues when it comes to water recycling is understanding the water cycle and how often there are actually more ways to actually reduce pollution and reuse water than just doing your typical end of line or just at the treatment plant treatment. So for instance, in some cases it might make sense to, for instance, reduce pollution at source as we do. In other cases it might make sense to basically clean up water after you've gone through something like a certain number of houses before the wastewater gets recycled or goes down the treatment plant and gets mixed up with industrial waste. And in other cases it just makes sense to, for instance, clean up your stormwater or reuse grey water. And potentially another option is actually to use less water. One of the major outcomes we've had is that it's increased our understanding of the water cycle, and it's helped us to actually understand how us taking action on different parts of it, for instance at source, instead of waiting for it to actually get to the treatment plant before we actually look at recycling, can be more effective in some situations. And typical examples is that throughout the wastewater runs, you can actually tackle from that source, like it's the case of choosing products which have a lower environmental impact, for instance. You can recycle after you've gone through something like houses only before the wastewater gets mixed up with industry, so you get easier to recycle water. Or in some cases you can simply use different technologies at different stages, and they all will have different environmental impacts and different advantages.